Happy Double or Nothing Sunday, everyone, and welcome to a very rare special edition of The Wingy coming at you right before Double or Nothing goes live in a couple of hours. Unfortunately, I have to miss tonight's pay-per-view. It's a really busy weekend for me. It's Memorial Weekend. I've been available for most Double or Nothings, but we really have a lot going on. And I needed to make myself available for my job. So unfortunately, I have a really busy weekend. I even missed Saturday night's main event last night. And I'm going to miss Double or Nothing here tonight. But I wanted to come up here today and move yesterday's podcast, bump it over to today, so we had an opportunity to review last night's Saturday night's main event. So today, we're basically just going to catch up on a little bit of wrestling news. We're going to review last night's Saturday night's main event, and I'm going to give you guys some quick last-minute predictions for Double or Nothing, which will go live in about 3 hours, and I believe the kickoff goes live at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, which is exactly when this podcast will end. So hopefully you can check me out, and then right after that, move on to Double or Nothing, or possibly Battleground, as WWE counter-programming AEW at every turn, and tonight fans are forced once again to make a choice. Luckily, in today's age of 9,000 devices in everybody's house, you can double screen that thing if you so choose. But I really do hate that some fans are forced to choose between which show they want to watch. And this is going to keep on happening because coming up in July, WWE, I believe, is going to book 3, count them, 1, 2, 3 shows on the same weekend as All In. What a bunch of assholes. So anyway, tonight should be a fun night of wrestling. We should be eating well this weekend. The reviews on last night's Saturday night's main event are not positive. It wasn't a very good show from all accounts. I haven't heard very many positive reviews from anybody, but we still have, dueling pay-per-views tonight, and overall it should be a pretty good weekend of wrestling when it's all said and done. So we're going to try to bust this thing out in 90 minutes, then I got to head to work, and then bust out that night, and then I'm off for a couple of days. We will be here tomorrow night to do something for Raw. Haven't decided yet. It's either going to be a watch-along or a review. Not really sure quite yet, but we have 2 Money in the Bank qualifying matches tomorrow night set for Raw for the men. We've got Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, and Rollins in a triple threat, and we have Dragon Lee, Gable, and Penta in a triple threat in your Money in the Bank qualifiers tomorrow night for Raw. So we'll be here to talk about that, but today we're going to just get into a few tidbits of wrestling news, review last night's Saturday night's main event, give a couple of opinions and thoughts on last Friday's SmackDown from a couple of days ago, where we saw the return of the Wyatt Six. And like I said, we'll fast predict some Double or Nothing predictions for you right at the end of the podcast today. So happy weekend to you. Happy Sunday. Again, I apologize for not being here tonight. I really wish I had some cold ones in the fridge, and I was about to go live here in a couple of hours to watch Double or Nothing with you guys, but, got responsibilities in life, unfortunately, so we're doing this instead. Good to see everybody who might be here in the chat. I'm going to say hello real quick, and then we will get down to business. It's good to see Zane G. Spartan Sprinkles is here. We got Jay Lambo, Tottenani. We've got Mike Rouse. We have William Cullen, Kevin, Mark Simpson, David Brown, Victor Colon, Justin Konglang. Let me see. We've got Nicola, Gilbert, Max Pokebra, Pretty Please. Be nice to Goldberg. That's asking a lot, Max. I don't think I'm going to be overly mean or critical of the bald asshole that he is, but we are going to talk about Goldberg in just a little bit when we talk about these big weekend of shows coming up in Atlanta in July for WWE. Good to see Percy and Nick Steele in the house. Also, Ryan Dempsey is here. We got Melissa. We've got Ben Espinoza, Shell Shock, Zach Palgett, Isaac. Might have lost my place. Ryan Adams, what's up, everyone? Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here on this really special, rare edition of a Sunday Wingy. No classic watch-along tonight because we have Double or Nothing. I would normally be here to watch that, but I'm not here to watch that either. So we will return 1 week from tonight for our classic watch-alongs. We'll probably do a King of the Ring or something June-related, so start throwing out your suggestions for that on social media or in the chat or wherever you want. And in the next couple of days, I will pick a show, and we will be here 1 week from tonight, which I believe will be June 1st, right, to watch the Classic Watch-Along or Classic Pay-Per-View together. All right, well, shout-outs are done. Let you guys know what to expect. Tomorrow we'll be here to do a Raw review or watch-along, one or the other. We'll be back to kind of a normal schedule here for the rest of the week. And today we're going to talk a little bit about this wrestling news. Now, one thing I did yesterday in lieu of the podcast is I kind of hit you with 3 YouTube shorts. One of them was Saturday night's main event predictions, and the other 2 were on the WrestleMania 42 situation and the Money in the Bank 2026 pay-per-view coming to New Orleans. And also, I gave you guys some comments on the Wyatt 6. But I do want to elaborate a little bit more on the big news this week. This was huge news, broke earlier on in the week. I had a really busy week just altogether. I had doctor's appointments, I had work, everything was going on. And so when I got the news about WrestleMania 42 being pulled out of New Orleans, I tried to give you guys a few comments on that in the form of YouTube shorts. But for those who don't know, I think most everybody knows by now, WWE announced this week, or it was reported this week, I think Brandon Thurston was the first one to report this news that at the time, I guess it was just a rumor, WWE, after already announcing WrestleMania 42 next year in New Orleans just a couple of months ago, The Rock came out and made the announcement, remember? After going through all that trouble, they have changed their mind and they have decided that they've gotten a better offer. WWE has pulled out of New Orleans for WrestleMania next year in favor of probably Vegas. Now, it is not official yet, but that's what everybody is expecting this announcement to be. WWE, I think, is still working out some things with the city of Las Vegas because after moving WrestleMania 42 out of New Orleans, they might have to change the date as well, depending on what Las Vegas has going on with concerts and other events around the city. So if they want to make room and clear room for a big week-long of WrestleMania festivities in Vegas again, there's going to be probably some logistical things that need to be worked out there. So maybe that's why we have not gotten the announcement yet. It's not going to be in London. It's not going to be in Saudi Arabia. However, it could also be in Indianapolis. Now, Indianapolis has already signed an agreement with WWE to get a future WrestleMania. I don't think it's going to be there. I think they're going to Vegas. I don't think they would pull out of New Orleans to go to Indianapolis. You know, this is a money thing. You know, this is WWE shifting dates around. You know, this is TKO, you know, following that money train. The money train. That's what they're following. So I don't know how, you know, moving to Indianapolis when they already know they're going to get a future WrestleMania, why you would do that now. Indianapolis will just get their future one when they get it. And this feels like it's going to be a move to Vegas. Now, this is all still has to be officially announced. The pulling out of New Orleans for WrestleMania 42 is official, but the new location for WrestleMania 42 is not exactly official yet, and neither is the date. But everyone expects that to be Las Vegas. Fans, obviously, rightfully so, a little bit perturbed by this. This is not a good look for WWE. It makes them look like they don't have their shit together, when really all it is they are just dumping New Orleans for probably a better offer and an opportunity to make more money and bring in more revenue. Now, for fans who are looking forward to going to New Orleans or have maybe purchased hotel reservations already, I feel horrible for them. Also, Vegas is very, very expensive. Most fans don't want to go to Vegas because not only are the wrestling events very expensive, it's a very expensive city to be in and do stuff in. Now, I personally love Vegas for wrestling because everything is so tight and close together. All the arenas are in walking distance from your hotel. When you drive into the Strip, you park at your hotel and you don't have to see your car again. You just walk to every single fucking thing you do. And I like that. And it gives you an opportunity to see and meet a lot of different fans and whatnot. But Vegas is not for everyone. And WWE going back there for a second year in a row, most likely. And according to Meltzer, WWE plans to hold regular WrestleManias in Las Vegas. Now, again, that's not too crazy of a notion. WWE's done back-to-back WrestleManias before. They did 5 or 6 SummerSlams in Staples Center. They did a bunch of them at Barclays as well. So they have held some pay-per-view residencies in the past, and Vegas is a big city, you know, with boxing and UFC events all the time. So if Vegas is going to be a routine stop for WrestleMania, I personally am okay with that. But I do understand how the perception that WWE is putting profit before fans, that's really always been the case with them. So it's kind of weird to be offended by that now. They've never really given a shit about us. It's always money first, us second, sometimes us third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or 10th. But it's all about the money. It's all about business. This is TKO driving this. These decisions that are going to be made that you might not necessarily see under Vince are going to be made now. So unfortunately, New Orleans has now lost WrestleMania 42. However, they will get a future WrestleMania. Triple H released a video on social media this week where he made a big announcement regarding the city of New Orleans and announced that in WWE's ongoing shifting in dates, they are now moving WrestleMania out of New Orleans, and New Orleans instead in 2026 is going to be the host of Money in the Bank. They've got the date for this pay-per-view announced as well, August 29th, which means Money in the Bank will now fall after SummerSlam. I don't know if that's good or bad. You know, you get briefcases available around SummerSlam time. It really ramps up speculation about a cash-in. Now you're going to be holding SummerSlam without the threat of that, and you're going to have the briefcases carried into the fall months and possibly cash-ins at WrestleMania. So, you know, I almost kind of preferred Money in the Bank where it was, you know, June or July or something like that. It's going to be late August now, so it's another thing we might have to get used to. WWE might start moving around where these pay-per-views are located. Again, not that weird. We've had Unforgivens in April and September. We've had Vengeances in Julys and Decembers and stuff. So they move stuff around, and they've done this before, so not that weird. But it is going to be weird to get used to think of Money in the Bank falling after SummerSlam now. So that will be coming August 29th to New Orleans, and Triple H did promise that New Orleans would be hosting a future WrestleMania. We just don't know when that's going to be yet. So we have New Orleans and Indianapolis, both guaranteed WrestleManias here in the near future. So both of those cities might receive them before London. We don't know. We don't know yet. But WWE really made some waves this week with all of that news. So the latest on that is we're just waiting for word on the official announcement for WrestleMania 42, likely in Vegas, and if it's going to change up the dates at all. If they're going to have to shuffle some dates around, move anything around, or work with city officials or anybody else that might have some of these buildings already booked for the weekend they want to be there. And if they stand their ground and say, F you, no, we're not budging, that might be fun to watch. But either way, it looks like Las Vegas is going to be the site of WrestleMania 42. Pretty big news this week. Also, last night on Saturday night's main event, which we will review in a minute, they did announce the date and location for the rumored WWE Evolution pay-per-view. For the first time in, 6 years? When was that? Was it 2019? Or was it 2018? It might have been 18. It feels like 7 years. I guess it's going to be 7 years now since WWE did that all-women's pay-per-view, which was a huge success. I enjoyed it. I thought Evolution was great when they ran it. And that was, Nikki Bella and Ronda Rousey, I think, right? And that was a good show. So WWE is planning to finally bring this concept back. And of course, as rumored, they are going to be holding this on the same weekend as All In. They announced 2 shows last night on Saturday night's main event coming July 12th and July 13th. Saturday night's main event will be on July 12th, which I think we already knew, and Evolution will be on July 13th. Both shows will be in Atlanta. So we have Saturday night's main event on Saturday. All In, AEW All In, is an afternoon show. I think that airs for me here on the West Coast at noon. I think it's a 3 p.m. Eastern start time, 2 p.m. in Texas, if my memory is correct there. So All In is going to be a daytime show. Then we're going to move into Saturday night's main event that night. Then the next day, we've got Evolution. And also, it sounds like they're going to be booking Great American Bash, NXT Great American Bash, also on Saturday, July 12th. I don't think this is official yet, but it sounds like Great American Bash is going to go head-to-head with All In. So WWE has thrown 3 of their shows on the same weekend as All In. There is absolutely no way to defend that counter-programming. That's so shitty to do that to the fans. For all the fans that say, oh, AEW is not competition, well, that's not the way WWE feels, because if AEW was no threat to them, if AEW was not their competition, then they wouldn't give a shit when AEW runs their shows. They are doing this on purpose. They are doing it with the direct intent to attempt to affect viewership for All In. It's the same reason why Battleground's happening tonight. I think a lot of fans are going to consider Double or Nothing the priority. But still, you're still running a show, and there's still a lot of fans who love NXT and don't want to miss that. And so they might choose to watch that and just catch the results on Double or Nothing, because NXT is free and you got to pay for Double or Nothing. So this is absolutely done intentionally, and WWE throwing 3 of their shows on the same weekend as an AEW pay-per-view. It was a couple weeks ago when we started first hearing about the Evolution rumors, and I said something about it, and somebody on Twitter was like, well, AEW's before. It's not like they're running head-to-head. I'm like, well, they're still putting it on the same weekend. You know what their intent is. To not think this is to be, willfully ignorant and blind. Of course, this is why they're doing it. And now if they add Great American Bash, that means they are going to be going head-to-head, and it's just nuts. I'm going to be watching All In. I know that, but either way, I'm going to try to make the best of that weekend. I've already made plans. I'm not going to get caught up like I did this weekend with, getting stuck having to work. I'm going to take that entire weekend off, and we're going to watch every damn show. We're going to watch All In. We'll do our best to try to catch NXT. We'll watch Saturday night's main event that night. We'll watch Evolution on Sunday. It will be a party up in here on July 12th and the 13th, so just keep that in mind. But it's going to be a really, really busy wrestling weekend here in a couple of months. Now, like I said, those WWE shows are both in Atlanta. Corey Hayes of Bodyslam.net has tweeted out yesterday that Nikki Bella is reportedly factored into plans for this, and she should be. She came back at the Royal Rumble. A lot of fans were hearing rumors that she was re-signing with the company or attempting a comeback with the company, and we thought we were going to see her, maybe even at WrestleMania. So we haven't seen Nikki Bella since, and she was a big part of the first Evolution, and word is that she will be a part of this one as well. So hopefully we will see Nikki Bella at Evolution. Also, Saturday night's main event later on that night on July 12th, also in Atlanta. There's some rumors that that could be the site of Goldberg's retirement match. I would love that. Let's get this out of the way. As we saw last night on Saturday night's main event, these shows are nothing special. They're quite unnecessary, to be honest. I love the concept of bringing back Saturday night's main event. I love the aesthetic of the show with the red, white, and blue ropes and the referee and the blue and the bow tie and kind of the minimalist set and the old Saturday night's main event theme. Jesse the Body Ventura, on the call. All of that is wonderful. It looks tremendous. But in terms of what they accomplish on these shows, I think this is, like I said before, this is national television, NBC. I think WWE presents these shows, in front of an audience that might not be all WWE eyeballs. It might be people channel surfing or whatever. They're expecting non-wrestling fans to see their product. This is what we have to offer. If you like it, please come back for more on Netflix and USA Network and CW and all that. So Saturday night's main events are becoming more and more clear that they're kind of just unnecessary shows. We'll see some cool things. We saw 2 big returns last night that we'll talk about. But, in terms of big time angles like a John Cena heel turn angle or somebody losing the world title, I just don't know if we're ever going to see that on Saturday night's main event. So what better place for Goldberg to retire on than a show that really doesn't matter? And you can have Goldberg in his final match, book it in the main event of Saturday night's main event, and just do it there. I hope that's where it's going to be. It's in Atlanta, and that's where Goldberg lives. That's where he played football. Seems, like a logical location for his final match. And they already kind of set the table for him and Gunther. So hopefully on July 12th, the main event of Saturday night's main event is Gunther versus Goldberg in Goldberg's retirement match. And Goldberg goes out on his back. If he wins and he beats Gunther, I'm quitting everything, selling all my belongings, moving into the woods. You'll never see me again. So let's hope that Gunther does beat Goldberg, and that is the match. That way we don't have to worry about it at SummerSlam. Goldberg can also get a main event, because that's another thing. With Goldberg's retirement, you can't put it on a PLE because it's going to have to be in the undercard. And that's fine, but, would a star of that magnitude having his final match, it feels like that should be a main event thing. So what type of show could you give Goldberg a main event on? Saturday night's main event, a show that doesn't matter at all. So there you go. That's what I'm hoping happens, and rumor is that is probably the likely plan. And if that's the plan, they're going to have to set something up for that soon, probably right after Money in the Bank, which is coming up in just 2 weeks. So quick turnaround here between WWE shows. Quick little update, too, on Zoe Stark. Of course, on Monday night, we saw her get injured in that horrible springboard I think it was a drop kick or whatever she attempted on Kairi Sane there. She landed very, very awkwardly and gruesomely on her knee. It twisted, it bent. She is out for the rest of the year. Surgery. She did tweet her gratitude for all the support. And she mentioned the setback, and she'll be back stronger than ever. And WWE apparently is planning for her to not be available for the rest of the year. So all the best to Zoe Stark. You knew as soon as she came down that was ugly, that was going to be some surgery requiring shit right there. So all the best to Zoe. You never like to see that. Liv Morgan is set to be back. She's done filming that movie. It's wrapped up. Her return has been reported to be imminent for a couple of weeks now, and apparently we could likely see her tomorrow night on Raw. I believe we will. So Morgan should make her return tomorrow on Raw, and it's going to be interesting to see, her dynamic now with Roxanne and how she's going to feel about that and how she feels about Dom getting that nice box of nuggies. We don't know. We'll probably find out tomorrow. Here's some fun news. Now, on the same weekend of Money in the Bank coming up in a couple of weeks, we also have Worlds Collide the day before. That's going to be at the Kia Forum in LA. And we got the announcement last night that one of those matches that's going to happen on that show is going to be Vikingo taking on Chad Gable. Holy shit. Now, we've seen Vikingo. They were showing AAA footage on NBC last night. How crazy was that? And we've seen El Hijo del Vikingo in AEW. I got a chance to meet him and hold that AAA belt one time, and the dude is phenomenal. And that match with Chad Gable at World's End is going to be nuts. They've also announced Santos Escobar, Angel, and Berto facing El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Psycho Clown. So that's going to be a bonkers-ass six-man. And who knows what else they're going to announce for that. I know Rey Mysterio is going to be a part of the show. And also, it sounds like that Vikingo and Chad Gable match will actually be for the title. Because right now, Alberto Del Patron is currently the champion, but he's booked in a match against Vikingo in a week or so. So here's what Fightful Select had to say about Alberto Del Rio and his status with WWE, because with World's End coming up and him being a title holder, you would think he would be a part of this, but that would kind of put him back in WWE. That would be weird. So here's what Fightful Select had to say about this situation a couple of days ago. One source Fightful spoke to said that it's hard to believe that it's an accident or coincidence that Vikingo versus Del Rio's title match was booked the week before the Worlds Collide show. Even if they keep Del Rio in the company, that belt is almost surely coming off of him, another source said. We have not heard that Del Rio is set for Worlds Collide as of now, but Vikingo is planned as a huge part of the partnership moving forward, if you couldn't tell from the announcement. Another note was that even though it was a formality and rarely happened, AEW will not be appearing in AAA, moving forward. Jeff Jarrett showed up there a couple of months ago. The reports of PW Insider regarding TNA sending talent to AAA for Worlds Collide is accurate. The general idea that we heard was that it would feature WWE, NXT, AAA, and TNA talent as their own Forbidden Door style show. So that is interesting. It sounds like they're about to take that title off of Del Rio in order to keep him off of Worlds Collide. But how long can you keep that up? Even if Del Rio's not a belt holder, if he's going to stay around in AAA, how are they? Are they just going to do all of these joint shows or these WWE and AAA partnership shows that they're doing? You're never going to have Del Rio be a part of that. That's awesome. I don't want to see his stupid fucking face, but it is kind of an interesting situation, and we'll be keeping our eye on how all of that plays out. But hopefully Vikingo will, in fact, beat Del Rio and win the title and take it to into a World's End to face Chad Gable. That's going to be a good match. Now, Gable also, got to remember, he's in a Money in the Bank qualifier. Tomorrow night, he's taking on Penta and Dragon Lee. So if Gable wins, he could be doing double duty. And it's Vikingo versus Gable, not Vikingo versus El Grande Americano. So I suppose Gable could qualify for Money in the Bank, and then he works both shows. But based on that match, Dragon Lee, Gable, and Penta, I kind of think Penta is going to qualify tomorrow. Probably Penta and probably Rollins, to be honest. So we will see. But kind of interesting news coming out of the WWE and AAA partnership and how that's going to affect the status of Del Rio moving forward. Also, TNA has got a bunch, speaking of TNA, we mentioned them a minute ago, they've got a bunch of new restrictions in the company now. This is another report here from Fightful Select, and I'll read you some of what they had to say about some new kind of in-ring restrictions that TNA has in place, and when you hear about a lot of these, it sounds very, very WWE from 15 years ago, you know? Here's what Fightful Select had to say about it. Recently, TNA requested that their talent scale back on the utilization of blood in their matches after the company felt like the talent had gone a little bit overboard in recent months. Fightful got word that the talent relations department passed down a memo that stated that slaps, I'm guessing that means face slaps, not thigh slaps, slaps will no longer be allowed unless approved by an agent. In addition, it was noted that throat slashing wasn't allowed at all and would come with a $100 fine each time it's done. We were told that a meeting was held Saturday to discuss the moves and to express unhappiness that the memos leaked, of which said meetings details also leaked. There were other talent meetings related happening there as well. So TNA sounds like they're tightening up the grip on their talent a little bit. You know, TNA is such a small company. I kind of like it when the smaller ones kind of let it all hang out, do things a little bit more on the extreme side, maybe be a touch more violent, and do things that you might not necessarily see on WWE's glossy, nationwide, global product. You know what I mean? But, you know, TNA's under, you know, ownership and management as well. They currently have a working agreement with WWE, and this feels like, you know, it feels very, very WWE. These are things you would hear that WWE would do sometimes. They would fine you for little things you would do in the ring. And, you know, I get not wanting to have too much blood and whatnot, but throat slashing, you know, like I get it. But I mean, Undertaker did that in every fucking match, you know. I understand, like, you don't want Muhammad Hassan doing it in 2005. I get that. But just throat slashing in general, you know, they don't want that done. They don't want slapping in the face done. Yeah, all this shit has to be approved now. So, I don't know. I feel like all of those restrictions are a little bit unnecessary, you know, but TNA's trying to. These are changes that they feel are best for the company, so we'll see how it goes. But, you know, when you reduce the blood and stuff, that does make the blood more important when you do see it. So maybe they're just trying to scale it back. That way, when they do bust out some crimson, it actually means a little bit more than when you have it in every damn match. All right, so that's kind of all I have there for just a few little bits of wrestling news that I wanted to get into. Let's talk about last night's Saturday night's main event and review this show. The reviews, the feedback from the audience last night was not good. I was working, I was eyeballing my phone for a little bit of it, and I was able to see the first match. And I saw, you know, what happened there, and then everything else I kind of missed. So when I was just kind of reading social media, I was just seeing a lot of negativity regarding this. Now, in my predictions that I released yesterday in the form of a YouTube short, I went perfect, as always, but man, I had the order of these matches all jumbled up. I thought the first match was going to be the main event. I don't know why. I felt like Breakker Rollins against Punk and Sammy was being set up as the main event, but you have both of your world champions on the show as well. So in my predictions, I was thinking about all these different possibilities, and one of those possibilities was the return of Cody Rhodes. And I said, well, if we see Cody Rhodes, we're going to see him in the John Cena match. John Cena is in a non-title match. Jey Uso is on this show. So Jey Uso should main event. Jey Uso should main event the show, especially since he's in a championship match. But I was still thinking that this tag would open, would close. But instead, it opened. So we are opening up with Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker taking on Sami Zayn and CM Punk. This was an okay match, but it was all about the finish here. I speculated in the predictions and in the podcast last week that we could see a Sami Zayn turn here. You know, Punk and Sami have had their problems, you know, in real life and on screen a couple of times, so that could be a good spot to set up maybe a turn in Sami. I wasn't sure if Sami was going to necessarily join Heyman and Rollins because of what just happened between all those guys. You know, Sami getting beat down and refusing to join and all that. It would have been weird, I felt, if he would have joined here. But turning on Punk, I thought was an option. So I had predicted Rollins and Breakker to come away with the win here, but it was going to require some sort of turn or surprise or return. And we got a return. Now, twice. This match was the match of people grabbing ankles because Sami Zayn went for 2 different haluva kicks and got interrupted twice. Once, I think, by Breakker or Rollins, and the other time by Paul Heyman. And then we see somebody hop over the barricade, and it turns out to be Bronson Reed. It was kind of a wide shot, but you could see him. I was watching on my phone at work, so this is the part of the match I did see, and I'm like, oh shit, it's Reed. And we had talked about a third man joining. So as soon as you saw him, you knew it was going to be Bronson Reed. He showed up, he plowed CM Punk right through the barricade, and then Sammy is left all alone in the ring. He eats a spear from Braun Breaker for the win, and Bronson Reed is now the third man. He enters the ring, and he's got that stare down with Rollins. We can't forget about what happened between those two guys. Bronson Reed put Seth out of action, remember, with like the 6 tsunamis from the top rope, and they had that crazy little feud there that was a lot of fun. So seeing them come together, they embrace, they share a hug. Paul Heyman's got a look on his face the whole time, like he's telling you the story there. When he, is kind of walking into the ring, Bronson is the third man. There's going to be an embrace and a hug there, and Bronson Reed is now a part of this faction. On one hand, it makes no sense at all, and on the other hand, it's totally fucking awesome. Now, you can really easily explain away the Rollins and Reed. Well, this doesn't make sense. These two guys were feuding. Do you know how easy it is to fix that on Raw? Seth has just got to come out there and get on the mic and say, I saw a monster in this man. When he put me out of action and hit me with all those tsunamis, I knew he was someone I wanted on my team, and I earned respect for him. It would be so easy to make that right. So for the fans that, this doesn't make any sense, it can easily be made sense tomorrow. It's not that big of a deal. But Reed now being a part of that group, I love it. He's the type of guy that should be put in there. I feel like with Reed and Breakker, they ain't no Ryback and Curtis Axel. These are going to be the real deal here. I think back in those days, maybe they were throwing people at Paul Heyman to try to help them out. This feels different. They're not using Paul Heyman in that way. Heyman is hopefully forming a dangerous alliance. Hopefully they will give us a name for this faction. Hopefully we get that name tomorrow night on Raw. And I really hope it's the Dangerous Alliance. It's probably going to be something so stupid. It's probably going to be some NXT sounding name for their little faction. I don't even know what they could possibly call it, but I just want it to be called the Dangerous Alliance. After they're all celebrating, it should be noted that Punk also slides into the ring and grabs a hold of, it might have been Heyman's leg, I forget, but he gets senton bombed by Reed, and Punk is like kind of on all fours, and then Reed hits him with a senton and just crumples poor CM Punk, and then Reed goes to the top to hit the tsunami, and Breakker and Rollins hold Punk's arms and legs down, so he has to take the full brunt of that tsunami. So Punk got absolutely destroyed, and that unit looks pretty damn solid, and that's going to be our 2025 angle on Raw. Just like the Judgment Day kind of dominated 2023, it's going to be this crew and the baby faces going up against them on Raw, and I liked it. I liked all of it. The match was okay, but the ending, having Reed be the one to join, we've been wanting to see somebody else join, and we've been speculating who it could possibly be. I know Reed has been brought up before. It wasn't a total surprise to everyone because some people had him fingered for this. Reed would be perfect. A lot of people are thinking about maybe we could see a woman being added to this thing. In that case, it should be the man, Becky Lynch. We will see. I don't know if you need her in there now because, Rollins, including the manager, Rollins is the smallest person. Rollins is the smallest member of this faction, and that includes the manager. Think about that. And he's, the centerpiece of this. This whole faction is designed to get Seth to the championship, which is going to be a really, really easy way to break the faction up, when that comes time. So once you start getting, Breakker wanting his opportunity and Bronson wanting his opportunity and them being jealous of all Seth's success, you got a really good kind of built-in storyline to break that faction up when the time comes. But we'll see how this all goes this year, and if Rollins is going to get to that championship by SummerSlam, and if Rollins is going to actually win the Money in the Bank, because think about if he does. I mean, that's going to be a guaranteed championship win. I think it already is. I think Rollins is going to be the guy to beat Jey Uso for the title. It just depends on whether or not he uses the briefcase to do it or not. I don't think Rollins needs the briefcase. He won the main event. of WrestleMania. So that right there should give him a title shot at some point. So he doesn't necessarily have to win. We could see, somebody interfere tomorrow. If Punk is okay, he might not necessarily be cleared to compete. He might not even be on the show. He might be off TV selling the tsunami. But if he's there, I could see Punk running out there in the middle of that triple threat match with taped up ribs and eliminating Seth Rollins, or not eliminating Seth Rollins, but attacking Seth Rollins and fighting through the crowd with him or something like that, allowing Sammy and Balor to finish the match and have a finish, so Rollins won't even have to be involved in the finish. So I think you could go either way. Rollins doesn't have to win Money in the Bank. I think he could just get a title shot at SummerSlam without needing the briefcase, and that's probably what's going to happen. So right now, I'm betting that Rollins will not win his qualifier tomorrow. I think Rollins is going to get the match at SummerSlam against Jey Uso, just get the title match. What would be interesting if, like, Braun Breaker won the Money in the Bank briefcase, or even Bronson Reed. Imagine if Breaker won the briefcase and then Rollins gets the title shot against Jey Uso at SummerSlam. That's going to cause some very early potential tension in that faction. It might be too early to really break all that down, but I feel like WrestleMania 42 next year, these guys are not going to be together by the time we get to that show. So I feel like Rollins getting the match at SummerSlam and then maybe Breaker holding the briefcase would be a lot of fun for television. Zelina Vega defended her United States Championship last night against Chelsea Green, and this match was a pile of steaming dog shit. First of all, it was only 5 minutes long. I don't know why. The only reason they added this match to the show is because they needed a women's match, because we only had 4 matches. And then on Friday on SmackDown, I guess, they chucked this one on there. And in my predictions, I said, I'm like, we're not going to see a title change here. This whole match was just thrown on there. Oh, crap, we need a women's match. Let's just have Chelsea and Zelina run it back again. And they only gave him 5 minutes, and the match was dog shit. And there was a really ugly 619 botch that busted open the nose of Chelsea Green. Zelina Vega got the win with a second rope code red, but not a good match, not a very long match. And, the fact that was on national TV, and for the world to see, didn't make me feel that good as a wrestling fan. And I love Chelsea. I would have loved to see her win the belt back there, but they weren't going to do that. I think they're giving Zelina a little bit of a run here until she coughs that thing up, but I'm not really invested in Zelina Vega's title run or her as a wrestler. Much more invested in Chelsea. After that, it was time for John Cena taking on R-Truth. Now, I had said in the predictions that we could see Cody come back on Saturday night's main event to attack John Cena, but I also said whenever Cody does come back, that's going to have to be a show-closing angle. So when Cena and Truth were up next, I didn't think we were going to see Cody come back. I was kind of right and wrong on that one. So it's John Cena versus R-Truth. We knew this match wasn't going to be much of a match. A lot of fans did not like this at all. And a lot of fans have got a lot of complaints about the John Cena heel turn, and the fans are 100% right. It sucks. John Cena's heel turn completely fucking sucks. We were on cloud 9. I was high as hell the night that John Cena turned heel. Dick kicking Cody Rhodes, beating him to death, standing right next to The Rock, and I said, oh, this is going to be money. Little did we know there was never any intent to have The Rock go beyond Elimination Chamber. John Cena was left to do this all on his own, and that association with The Rock and setting up the heel turn in the way they did completely killed the heel turn itself. If you would have executed the heel turn a different way or just kept The Rock out of that altogether, then this might have been successful. But they really sabotaged Cena's heel turn. Part of me thinks by Cena's body language and stuff, he doesn't give a shit anyway. But, as fans, I was really hoping that this was going to be something that we were going to remember for a long time. I remember comparing this heel turn to Hogan's NWO heel turn. How foolish do we sound now trying to compare these two? They're not even close. And this whole thing sucks. It just sucks. So let's just get to the match. Let's have Cody drop the title back to John Cena. If that's really happening in Boston on Saturday night's main event in December, holy shit, we got a long ways to go of this John Cena character. But hopefully maybe he drops it quicker than that. It's not going to be at Money in the Bank because we have a different match set up there. But Cena's entire run has just been viewed by the majority of the audience as a monumental disappointment. So here he's facing R-Truth, and they do the spot where Cena gets the belt. He wants to hit R-Truth. R-Truth, doesn't want him to. John Cena's got this conflicted look on his face. He's not sure what to do, of course, and then ultimately hands the belt back to the referee. And the referee turns his back to put the belt back away. John Cena dick kicks R-Truth, lifts him right up in the AA, boom, hits him, 1, 2, 3, wins the match. A lot of fans were thinking that, John Cena, you can slowly see him kind of beginning his redemption arc. He's starting to struggle and he knows he's not doing the right thing. And I think he did all that on purpose. I think he did all that to mess with us. I think he wanted you to think that he was having second thoughts. And then he tricked the referee to turn his back only to nutshot R-Truth anyway. So I really don't think it was Cena or his character really struggling. I think if the redemption arc begins, we will know it. And I don't think it was last night. But there have been moments in Cena's promos and moments in Cena matches that we have seen. If you look at him close enough, he does feel like, maybe I'm not doing the right thing here. So they're subtly teasing eventually Cena probably coming around. But, overall, this whole thing has just been just a huge flop. In my mind, the little backstage interaction with Cena and Jey Uso last night, the way Cena was talking, like, why is he talking like that? I get he's intentionally trying to be boring as all fuck, but, it's just, I just feel like, not only was the heel turn 10 to 12 years too late, but also it feels phoned in, I just feel like John Cena is like, yeah, that's the fans. You guys booed me for years, so now I'm mad at you, and I'm just going to, there's nothing really else different about him. Still wearing the same stuff, no real change in his look. It's just his promos and his attitude is all that's really changed. And, when other people have had monumental changes in their characters, we've seen a physical change in them as well. And it's really weird to see Cena have this attitude while still looking like, like still dressing like a fucking 5-year-old. So I'm just really bummed out and disappointed that this heel turn has been such a monumental failure, because it felt like when they ran the angle and when Cena turned heel, it felt like it can't miss. It felt like they are going to print money. And I blame Dwayne. I blame Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for all this shit. John Cena beats R-Truth, and I felt like they could have done more here in this match. Like, we could have gotten a little bit more emotion, but, it was what it was, and the fans were not giving this match very good reviews either. Damian Priest, of course, took on Drew McIntyre inside of a steel cage. I predicted Damian Priest to get the win here because it was a cage match and we did have the escape the cage rule, which is a good way to protect someone if you don't want to pin them. Now, this match was interesting because you had Jesse the Body Ventura on the call for this, and he was not kind to the finish. Neither were the fans. Now, I didn't hate this as much as everybody else, but I do understand where people are coming from. So the finish after these two guys beat the hell out of each other in the cage, the finish was Damian Priest hitting Drew McIntyre, executing a concerto on him. Michael Cole even mentions Edge during this. He put his mentor away with this 3 years ago, Edge. And so McIntyre laid face down, Damian Priest, boom, concerto. And instead of pinning him like he could, he decides just to turn his back and walk out the door in a moment that I think was meant and designed to be way more dramatic than it was. The fans didn't really react much to it. I felt like they might have even been a little bit disappointed because Priest took his time, walking away from McIntyre, exits the cage through the door, walks down the stairs, but then stands on that final step for just a couple of seconds, then finally puts his feet on the ground. The bell rings. Damian Priest is announced as the winner, and Jesse the Body Ventura just buries the entire finish. Wait a minute. What do you mean you can win the match by escaping through the door? What a coward, he says. And then he says, at least climb over the top of the cage, which is silly. If the door is right there and it's open, why wouldn't you walk out? And why the hell does Jesse the Body Ventura have a problem with this? Jesse, brother, you have called cage matches in the past where you can win by escaping the door. Right off the top of my head, I would say WrestleMania 2. Hogan and Bundy, he was on the call for that. And there were several times when Bundy was trying to get out of the door. As a matter of fact, I think the finish of that match has Hogan going over the top as Bundy is exiting the door, and Hogan just beats him by a couple of seconds. So Jesse had no problem with Bundy trying to get out the door. He also said it was the first cage match in Saturday Night's Main Event history when he called the steel cage match between Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff on, checks notes, Saturday Night's Main Event. But you know what? It's okay. I love Jesse the Body Ventura. It's great to hear his voice on Saturday Night's Main Event. It's great to see him back behind the commentary table. Jesse's brutal honesty is part of the reason why I love him so much. But he's old. Senior moment. No big deal. Jesse just, it's not like he watches the business like we do. He forgets his own history. He probably forgot that he's called cage matches where you can escape through the door. So Jesse getting all angry about it was pretty hilarious to listen to. Even Michael Cole trying to cut him off and trying to damage control this. It's just the rules, Jesse, or whatever. That was so entertaining. I absolutely loved Jesse burying the finish, but I don't know why he did, because WWE has always had the escape the cage rule. Now, I agree that it's dumb. It's a dumb rule, and it's even dumber in blood feuds. That's when I don't like the escape the cage rule. When you've got a feud going on that's so personal, that's so violent, that the only way you can settle this is to lock them into a cage and have them fight to the death. Instead, you're locking them in there and then they're trying to scurry away and run out. The only cage match I can think of where that concept really worked, and I mean really worked, was SummerSlam 1994. Brett and Owen had a tremendous cage match that wasn't violent, that wasn't bloody, and the majority of the match was them trying to stop each other from escaping, and it actually worked. That was one match where it worked. That was a tremendous cage match. But most of the time, 99% of the time, it's weird to have that rule when the cage matches are usually designed to settle long-running, deep, personal, violent rivalries. So for fans who say Priest should have just pinned McIntyre, you're right. He should have. The reason he didn't is because it's McIntyre. WWE didn't want to pin him. So let's just do the big dramatic walkout. But this is what you want. You want these big time matches, and you want to have a winner. You want to have the company, AEW or WWE, have the guts enough to book an actual winner here. And AEW is going to be in that situation here later on tonight when they got two big ones, Ospreay and Hangman, Hayter and Mercedes. You're going to have to book a winner in each of those, and those are four people that I don't think Tony Khan wants to beat any of them, but he's going to have to beat two of them tonight. So Priest winning the way he did, I think, just protects Drew McIntyre from a pinfall loss, and that's why they did it that way. So I agree that based on the nature of the feud that's been going on for, over a year on and off, they should have maybe had a pinfall. Sure. I can agree with that or understand that, but I still, at the same time, don't think that I'm as offended by the finish as everybody else is. And I think Jesse really played a role. Fans are, no, it was stupid. I'm like, Jesse, this is not new to you, bro. So Priest winning the way he did, I guess he's the one that wins the blow-off after all, and not Drew McIntyre. Also, it was reported by Fightful Select that another reason why we saw that concerto finish last night is because Drew McIntyre is going to be taking some time off. He's been working banged up, but apparently the time off that he's about to take is contractual. So maybe this is a scheduled time that he had planned to be off, and they ran that angle to get him off of TV for a while. Hopefully when he comes back, he will be stronger than ever. He already took one hiatus after his last cage match, right, with Punk. He was gone for a while. And so now he lost another one. He's going to be gone for a while again. Hopefully McIntyre comes back stronger than ever. That will now put him out of Money in the Bank, might even put him out of SummerSlam, although I'm hoping he'll be back by SummerSlam. We will see. Wishing the best to Drew McIntyre, and I am not giving up hope yet that he will be world champion again. I believe he will be. And the main event last night in another very, very bad match. Jey Uso defending his World Heavyweight title against Logan Paul. This was all about the finish to me and what they set up here for Money in the Bank. Jey Uso has Logan Paul beat. I think he hit him with a super kick, frog splash, something like that. Referee goes to count, and the referee is pulled out of the ring by John Cena. So John Cena shows up, pulls the referee out of the ring, and that's when Cody shows up. I think Cena might get in the ring, right, and they start double-teaming Jey Uso. Cody's music plays. Finally, first time since WrestleMania, Cody is back. He comes out. I told you, if Cody comes back, it's going to have to be a show-closing angle. I just thought it would happen in the actual Cena match, but once Cena came out, oh shit, I see what they're doing. And word had already kind of gotten leaked earlier in the day that we were probably going to see the setup for the tag match at Money in the Bank at some point during Saturday night's main event. But up until yesterday, we were assuming that it was going to be Travis Scott, because there's been a lot of rumors about Travis Scott working a match with John Cena, and maybe that is now not the case unless they turn this thing into a six-man. So Cody shows up. He attacks Cena, hits him with the crossroads. That allows Jey Uso to hit the frog splash onto Logan Paul. Now the referee has recovered to count the three. Jey Uso wins, retains the championship. Cody Rhodes gets on the mic and proposes to John Cena and Logan Paul, who are standing side by side in the aisleway. He said, "We will see you guys at Money in the Bank." So it's looking like it's going to be Cody and Jey versus John Cena and Logan Paul. Now, if they add Travis Scott to that and they make it a six-man, you could maybe add Jimmy. You know, it could be Jimmy, Jey, and Cody versus Travis, Logan, and Cena. And wouldn't it be kind of interesting if, like, Money in the Bank had two big triple threat matches? Imagine if Punk and Sammy and Roman Reigns teamed up to face Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, and Seth Rollins. So you got two Money in the Bank matches, a men and a women's, and you got two big six-man matches on Money in the Bank. You do Sammy, Punk, Roman versus Rollins, Breaker, Bronson. That is an insane-sounding match. And then you do the other one. You do the Usos and Cody versus Cena, Logan, and Travis Scott. Maybe you could do that. Might be fun. But I'd rather, if it was up to me, just keep Travis Scott out of it altogether and just do the tag. And hopefully that is what it is. They kind of said that last night. Hopefully everything will be officialized tomorrow night on Raw, and it'll be Cody and Jey versus Logan and Cena. And Logan and Cena teaming up is kind of interesting. We kind of had them on our radar to face each other one-on-one at WrestleMania this year. So now they're going to be teaming up in a tag match together. Also last night in the crowd, we saw Leilani Kai, which was kind of cool. Bushwhacker Luke was there. So was Jimmy Hart. So was Tatanka. I think IRS might have been there, or Mike Rotundo was there, which is kind of cool. So the legends were out for Saturday night's main event last night. But overall, you know, kind of a waste of a show. You know, the next one they do in July on All In Weekend, I will be here for. But any other future Saturday night's main events, I'm never really going to make any plans to be home for these. I'm probably going to work for most of them because so far they've kind of proven to be somewhat pointless and underwhelming. You know, that Cody and Owens match was pretty good and whatnot, but I think, you know, overall, these are just kind of shows that are on the calendar that WWE has to do due to their media rights agreement. So they're just doing them, and they're really nothing special at the end of the day. But the next one might be a little special if it does, in fact, turn out to be the retirement spot of Goldberg. And it sounds like John Cena's final match is also going to be happening on Saturday night's main event. So I guess it sounds silly if I say nothing happens on these shows at all. Real quick, just want to mention a couple of tidbits about Friday's SmackDown as well. We had a couple of Money in the Bank qualifiers on Friday. We had Julia defeating Charlotte and Zelina Vega to qualify for the Money in the Bank. Julia did her little spinning head thing to Charlotte there, and she sold it like shit. But it was cool to see Julia and Charlotte sharing a ring. Kind of awesome. Also, LA Knight stole a victory from Aleister Black and Shinsuke Nakamura to qualify for the Money in the Bank in that triple threat. And I think it was a black mass to Nakamura. LA Knight threw him out. Typical triple threat type of finish there. So we had Julia and LA Knight qualifying for Money in the Bank. Also, we had Jacob Fatu teaming up with JC Mateo. They beat Rey Fenix and Jimmy Uso. This was good to see Mateo, a.k.a. Jeff Cobb, looking like his normal self. His debut match was weird. It was a very Vince McMahon type of debut for someone out there wrestling in street clothes. I get that it was like impromptu and it was a spur-of-the-moment decision to have him wrestle, but you could have just booked it a different way so he could actually come out there in his gear and fans could get a better look at him. This looked way more like the Jeff Cobb I'm used to seeing. And he was the one that actually scored the pin. I think he hit Jimmy Uso with that power slam move of his and got the win for his team. So Jacob and Mateo are, a little bit at odds there, a lot of tension there in that whole situation. So we'll see how that progresses. But it was good to see Jeff Cobb in the form that we saw him on Friday, because I was a little bit nervous for his future based on his debut match. And then, of course, on Friday in the main event, great tag team match, title match between the Street Profits defending against Fraxium. We had the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY out there. And right when Montez is climbing up to the rope to, I guess, deliver his big Montez frog splash, the lights go out. When they come back on, the entire faction of the Wyatt Six is in the ring. Montez does the little thing. They just attack. They attack everybody. They destroy everybody. And the show goes off the air with the Wyatt Six posing in the ring with a birthday cake with one candle in it. And Friday would have been the 38th birthday of Bray Wyatt. So when you think about bringing back the Wyatt Six, the whole thing with the candle, and just kind of tugs on them heartstrings, And Bray Wyatt's birthday also incidentally coincides with the death of Owen Hart. Friday was also the 26th anniversary of Owen Hart's death. Last year, I did a big 25th anniversary podcast where we talked about Owen Hart's life. We talked about his career. And we talked about his death and the circumstances surrounding his death. And we just donated all proceeds to the Owen Hart Foundation. So, 26 years is wild, absolutely wild. But Wyatt Six coming back, blowing out the birthday cake, that was great. But, what do they do now? I feel like we didn't get enough time to really see, what they could do when they first showed up. Bo Dallas got injured, then creatively they're kind of doing a lot like Bray Wyatt was doing. Like sometimes they would just keep him off TV. You can't figure out what to do. So now that they're back on TV, that is the type of group, that's a type of faction, that's a type of gimmick and angle that you have to have plans for. You can't just bring them back on TV and say, all right, next week, 8 hours before the show when we're writing the script, we'll figure out what to do with them. The fact that Bo Dallas has been cleared for months and we have not seen them makes me hope anyway that the reason that we haven't seen them after Bo Dallas got cleared is because they've been working on a creative direction for them. If they haven't, I'm not really too excited about what we might see. I think this could be another letdown. The key is being able to know what you're doing with these guys. This faction is a very unique type of weird idea. So you can't just wing this thing. You've got no, reference point to draw from or anything like that, like you've done in the past. This is just a completely kind of weird and new concept, a tribute faction to Bray Wyatt. And when they first showed up, it looked like they murdered the entire roster. And so it's just kind of been a little bit unclear, what they are, who they are, what their motivations are, how they're going to do things. So hopefully everybody kind of stays healthy enough for them to be a fixture on TV every week and hopefully be entertaining and be intriguing. It's going to take a lot more than a birthday cake to do that. So we'll see who they feud with. We'll see who they target. We'll see what Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas's, aspirations are, if he even cares about trying to win a world championship or anything like that. We will see. But the Wyatt Six are now officially back, and they're going to be on the SmackDown brand. Alexa Bliss is also there as well, as we know, so maybe she can be reincorporated into that group, and maybe even Charlotte Flair could join the group. How crazy would that be? I do like what they teased with Alexa and Charlotte last week. Hopefully that turns into something more, and maybe Maybe Charlotte can be loosely affiliated with that group as well. So here's what we got for Money in the Bank. On the men's side, we only have 2 qualifiers so far, Solo Sikoa and LA Knight. We're going to have 2 more qualify tomorrow as we have those 2 triple threat matches set for Raw, Balor, Zayn, and Rollins, and Dragon Lee, Gable, and Penta. So we've got those 2, the winners of those 2 matches will join LA Knight and Solo Sikoa on the men's side. And then on the women's side so far, we have Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley, Roxanne, and Julia have all qualified for Money in the Bank on the women's end of things. And we have that big tag match now official, John Cena, Logan Paul versus Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Hopefully they will not add Travis Scott to this. If they do, maybe Jay and Cody can go recruit Bad Bunny or something. I don't know, but I'd rather keep Travis Scott and any other rappers or singers or celebrities out of this match if possible. We already got Logan Paul in there. All right, let's move on to tonight's festivities. A lot going on. We've got NXT Battleground going head-to-head with Double or Nothing. This past week on Dynamite, we did see the big promo battle between Hangman Page and Will Ospreay, which was tremendous. I enjoyed that one more, or the most of all the ones they've done so far. And if, their job was to really, really sell you on that match, really, really sell you on that pay-per-view, they did it. They absolutely did it on Wednesday night. That was tremendous. One of the more, disappointing things on the show was the MJF Hurt Syndicate contract signing stuff. It was completely unnecessary. Them setting up that contract signing, I thought was them setting up something bigger happening, like Cedric Alexander showing up or them turning on MJF, because they built that whole thing up for so many weeks with MJF getting all the thumbs up and with Lashley giving him the thumbs down every week, only finally Bob giving MJF that thumbs up, officially joining the group. It was all building to that. And then they hit you with the surprise. Next week, we're going to sign the contract. And I'm like, well, why do you need to sign a contract? Why don't you just do it right here? The contract should go hand in hand with the thumbs up. So I thought they were now extending it one more week to turn on MJF. So he comes in the ring, they do the whole thing, they sign the contract, and then all that happens is they're interrupted by Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, who would then have, a match. I forgot who they even faced. They had a match on Collision. I think it was they had a match on Collision with the winner getting a shot against the Hurt Syndicate, something like that. So it's going to be Dustin and Sammy facing the Hurt Syndicate tonight at Double or Nothing. So I was hoping for a little bit more out of that contract signing segment, but overall Dynamite was, I thought, a decent show, and I really, really enjoyed Hangman and Will Ospreay. Tonight on Battleground, I don't have the entire card, but I know we got 3 big matches. We're going to have Trick Williams challenging Joe Hendry for the TNA Championship. A lot of people are saying Trick's going to win the title here tonight. I hope he does. Trick winning the TNA title would be fun. It would be fun. So I'm kind of rooting for him. We also have Obafemi defending his championship against Miles Bourne. There was some sort of an interview that was floating around there with Obafemi and Stephanie Vaquer. And Oba said he's going to beat up Stephanie's boyfriend. That was pretty funny. Apparently Vaquer and Miles Bourne are dating. And Obafemi said he's going to beat up her boyfriend. I thought that was funny. And Stephanie Vaquer is also defending the NXT Championship against Jordynne Grace. Now, a lot of fans feel like Jordynne Grace is going to win this, and they're going to send Stephanie up to the main roster. But I feel like you can wait on that. Julia is already on SmackDown. They'll probably send Stephanie to Raw. But that means Stephanie is also going to have a very, very short NXT title run. You just came off of a short one with Julia, right? And then she dropped it pretty quickly there to Stephanie. And now if Stephanie coughs it up to Jordynne, I feel like you should have cut out the middleman there. Unless you just wanted to pad the legacies of these women and give them each an NXT title run before the main roster, like a quick one. And that was the only purpose of that, is so you can refer to Stephanie as a former NXT Women's Champion. Otherwise, I think you could go a little bit longer before calling her up to the main roster. There's no major rush there. You can still call her up this summer. So Jordynne Grace winning the championship here, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I love Jordynne Grace. And if she won the NXT championship, I would be absolutely elated for her. But I kind of hope Vaquer retains. Now, I'm not educated on the NXT product enough to really give you predictions here, so anything that I say will just be a guess. But if I had to guess, I'd go Trick to win the TNA title, Stephanie Vaquer to retain her NXT title, and Oba Femi to retain. So I got Stephanie and Oba retaining, and Trick beating Henry for the TNA. And I know there's some other matches on there, but I don't care about those. Those are the big ones, and Battleground will be going head-to-head with this badass card. Here's what we got for AEW Double or Nothing. The show's pre-show is about to go live here in just a few minutes, if it's not live already. So we're not going to spend a ton of time getting these predictions done. Let's just knock them out. 9 matches, according to the promotional poster that I saw. We've got the Don Callis family taking on Paragon. So I guess it's going to be Alexander and Takeshita and Fletcher against Cole and Roddy and O'Reilly, I guess. With that one, it could go either way. I didn't catch Collision, so I don't know how these two teams interacted recently. Sometimes it's easier to tell. I'm going to go Callis family. I'll go Callis family to pick up the win there over the Paragon. We've got Kazuchika Okada defending his Continental Championship against Speedball Mike Bailey. Got to go Okada. It's going to be Okada and Kenny at All In. So I feel like one of them could drop the belt so they could win it from the other, but I feel like most signs are pointing to unification. So I think Okada's going to keep the title here. I've got him defeating Mike Bailey. Here's an interesting one. Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe in a stretcher match. I know that Briscoe already beat Ricochet, and I know that most fans are going to predict Ricochet here to win. I'm going to predict Mark Briscoe. Now, this is kind of it's like a stretcher match, ambulance match. I think you actually have to put your opponent on the stretcher and then put them into an ambulance, I think is the rules here. So Mark Briscoe is absolutely nuts. He's batshit crazy. I think it would be way more fun watching Mark Briscoe find a creative way to secure Ricochet to the stretcher than vice versa. This is an ambulance match or a stretcher match, so you don't have to take a pin here. I know Briscoe already beat Ricochet once, but I feel like he should beat him here again, and then Ricochet wins whatever blow off they have. He'll win that, definitively. So Ricochet frustrated from the first, loss. Now this is a stretcher match. I feel like they could do something funny. You know when like Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns had the ambulance match, and I think the finish to that was like Roman Reigns going for a spear and Braun Strowman moving out of the way and Roman just flies into the ambulance? Wasn't the finish something like that? Like how Titus O'Neil flew under the ring? So if you got to be put on the stretcher first, Ricochet can't dive and land in the ambulance or anything like that, but I can see Mark Briscoe getting out some ratchet straps or getting a big thing of duct tape, and just duct taping Ricochet's head to the fucking stretcher and then wheeling his ass into the ambulance. And I feel like they can do a finish here that will protect Ricochet because he won't have to take a pin. And then Ricochet can come out on Dynamite and be all pissed off and say, hey, you tied me up. You did not beat me. You had to use a rope or a cattle prod or handcuffs or, whatever you did to win this match. You didn't really beat me. I propose one more final match, and maybe it's, a match with a stipulation like an Old Bart or a Lights Out. Lights Out might be good. And Ricochet wins that. So I would go for a trio here. I would have Briscoe win one more time, and then whatever match they do next for the blow-off, Ricochet wins that. So maybe it's Lights Out or whatever gimmick match you can do where these guys can kill each other, and Ricochet will win that one. So I'm going Mark Briscoe to win the stretcher match. FTR taking on Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia. Man, I'm not invested in this one at all. I'm just not at all. I feel like FTR's got to win here because I believe they're going to beat the Hurt Syndicate for the tag team titles at some point. But Nigel coming out of retirement, well, I can't say that out of retirement, he wrestled last year, but Nigel getting back in the ring again, just to be in a random pay-per-view match, tag match where he loses. Why? Daniel Garcia could team up with anybody and do that. So I don't know what the attraction here is. Part of me thinks that Garcia and Nigel actually have a chance here to beat FTR. But I'm going to go FTR. I guess I'm still going to go FTR. The match is weird to me. I don't really understand why it's happening, but I'm going to pick FTR over Garcia and Nigel. We've got the Hurt Syndicate defending the AEW Tag Team titles against the Sons of Texas. Obviously, the Hurt Syndicate, I've got winning this at some point. MJF will be costing them the Tag Team Championships, but I think that is going to be against FTR, not against the Sons of Texas. In the finals of the Women's Owen Hart Cup tournament, we have Mercedes Moné taking on Jamie Hayter. I feel like this match could go either way. You could definitely make a case for Jamie Hayter. You know, she came back, returned last year, and now being in the finals here of the Owen, most fans are going to argue that Mercedes wins all the time. She's got all those belts. She doesn't need it, but I think that's the point. I think she's in her belt collector era here, and I think the match that they are targeting us for or building towards is against Toni Storm at All In. I was hoping it was going to be Athena. Hopefully we'll still see Athena and Mercedes, and Athena maybe will be the one to take the TBS title off of her, but I feel like Mercedes is going to go into All In to face Toni, and she's going to have all the belts, and I feel like she's going to beat Jamie Hayter here. And what sucks about this match is that you're going to have fans complaining. Mercedes has been performing well. Her matches have been great. But, of course, you know, fans can't process when someone wins a lot. You're seeing that now in WWE. Ripley, why is she always in the title picture? I'm like, because she's the top fucking star. That's why. You know, the fact that they can't wrap their brains around that is just comical to me. So it's the same thing here. You know, fans see all those belts. Oh, she politics. She gets her own way. She's refusing to lose, because it's just broad assumptions made by unintelligent people. Mercedes is probably going to win here, but it's not going to be because of any sort of fucking nefarious, you know, cruelty or politicking or anything like that. She's going to win because she's the one that's going to be booked to win. If Jamie Hayter knocks her on her ass, knocks her out, wins the Owen tournament, I will be thrilled. I am rooting for Jamie Hayter. I like Jamie Hayter. I want her to get this win, but I'm not going to be disappointed, or I'm not going to be mad, I should say. I'm not going to be mad if she doesn't. I'm picking Mercedes to win the Owen Hart tournament for the women. And Archie in the arena. We've got Kenny, Swerve, and the OPPs, and Willow taking on the Young Bucks and the Death Riders. I put on Twitter today that the Death Riders are tough, but the Ops are naughty by nature. And nobody got it. Nobody got my dad joke. Anyway, this is another one that I feel like could go either way, but I'm going to go Team Swerve. I'm going to go Team Swerve to win. Obviously, we're going to see Gabe Kidd out there. I think he's not a part of this match, though. It's like all of the Death Riders, I think, are in the graphic, the match graphic for this, and all of the Ops. So you're going to have Hobbs, you're going to have Shibata, you're going to have Joe, and you're going to have Willow, and you're going to have Kenny, and you're going to have Swerve, and you're going to have the Death Riders and the Young Bucks, and you're going to have Gabe Kidd. I would love, you know, because they don't have Gabe Kidd on the poster, so I feel like he's not necessarily officially in the match, but we will see him in the match. It's anarchy. Anything goes. So he can just show up. It doesn't matter. You don't have to necessarily be booked for it. He can be a part of that. And if he is, and Team Swerve needs a little bit extra backup, it would be really nice if Eddie Kingston was healthy and he came stumbling out there like a man possessed with a fucking gas can and a lighter. Oh my God, I would love it. But you could definitely have the heels win here. Moxley, you know, this is a chance for us not to have another Moxley win. He's not defending the title, so there's no title to lose here. Moxley doesn't have to be pinned. I think Team Moxley should lose, and Team Swerve should go over here. And if the fans have any vote on what song they play during Anarchy in the Arena, I nominate Bop by Hanson. We've got Toni Storm defending her AEW Women's Championship against Mina Shirakawa. Come on. What do you guys think? Yeah, me too. Toni Storm all the way. And finally, in the main event, finals of the Men's Owen Hart Tournament Cup, Will Ospreay versus Hangman Page. Winner of this will go into All In to face Jon Moxley for the championship. And we still don't know at All In. There have been some rumors that Moxley's match won't even be the main event, but I kind of think it should be. I don't know if I want Kenny and Okada as the main event, to be honest, at All In. I don't think I want that. I hope the championship match is the main event. So if it is, Moxley facing either guy would be great. Against Hangman, against Ospreay, I like the idea of both. I like the idea of both guys beating him for the championship. But I feel like the loser of this match, when you look at what the loser of this match will do, I feel like Hangman Page has got more story. So him losing here, he can still reconnect with Swerve. They can do that tag match with the Bucks. He can get involved in lots of different ways with the Elite and the Death Riders by losing here because he's connected to a lot of different people. Will Ospreay is just Will Ospreay right now. And I feel like him going into All In to face Moxley would be the better option. So I'm going to pick Will Ospreay to defeat Hangman Page, but I feel like also, Hangman Page will be getting that championship back. I mean, there's a lot of people in line for that title right now. Hangman, Ospreay, and Darby are the top three. And Swerve. You got 4 men right now that I think absolutely all should be world champion right now, but they can't all be world champions. So, Ospreay facing Mox and potentially losing to him, I could definitely see that happening. But him beating Moxley for the championship as well at All In and then maybe dropping it to Darby a few months later might be fun. Darby, incidentally, climbed Mount Everest. He should be coming back to TV soon. And it sounded like AEW was about to put the title on him last year before they changed up their plans a little bit. And then when they started the Death Riders thing, it felt like the end game here was going to be Darby coming back to win the title, but then he climbed Mount Everest. So we really don't know what the plans are. But Ospreay, he's a company guy right now. Every time he's interviewed, he keeps talking about how much better he thinks AEW is than WWE. He really stands behind what they do there. That's the type of guy you want, as one of your top stars. So I am going to pick Will Ospreay to beat Hangman Page and win the Owen Hart final and go into All In to face Jon Moxley. Hangman can still be doing plenty of things on television. He can be doing things with Swerve Strickland. He can still be feuding with the Death Riders and doing stuff with the Elite. He'll have plenty of material and things to do and stuff to work with, where I think Will Ospreay might have a little bit less, storyline-wise to go by. So having him win the title here and build an issue and build that match with Moxley at All In, probably for TV's sake and direction of angles is the best way to go in my mind. So we will see how I do in my predictions. I will be keeping my eye on the show while I'm at work tonight. But just to recap, I got the Callis family over Paragon, Okada over Mike Bailey. I've got Mark Briscoe beating Ricochet in that stretcher match. I've got FTR over Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia. I've got the Hurt Syndicate over Sons of Texas. Mercedes Moné to win the women's Owen Hart tournament. Will Ospreay to win the men's Owen Hart tournament. Tony Storm to retain over Mina Shirakawa, and Team Swerve to win Ann Archie in the arena. And there you go. And in about 8 minutes, I believe, AEW's kickoff or 0 hour show starts. I don't believe it's on yet. So we are going to be wrapping this up just in time. And I want to thank you guys for being here today and watching me on a Sunday afternoon. I really, 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 really wish that I was home watching the show with you guys. All right, let's check out some super chats, see what you guys are saying, and then I'm going to have to bust on out of here. If you guys don't mind, too, smashing that thumbs up button for me, I would really appreciate it. And keep in mind, we will be here tomorrow, probably for a Raw review, because we've got some Money in the Bank qualifiers, and I'm going to want to give you guys thoughts on tonight's Double or Nothing, that's for sure. Ryan Adams is here. Thank you very much, bro, for that $5 earlier. John sounded like he was on... John sounded like he was back on Total Divas because he talked like a robot and was a jerk on that show. He was, yeah. I remember I saw a few clips of that, and he had like all those rules about his house. What an asshole. Spartan Sprinkles, thank you for the 5, my friend. Leaving through the door is only weak if the babyface is desperately trying to escape an ass whooping. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I think it's just weak in general, but that's been a rule for like 45 years in WWE. So, it's not new, It's always been that way. Juliet, yeah, you're down with OPP. I understand. I know you are. Oh, yeah. Kenny and Okada, that is a main event caliber match. And if that, was the main event of All In, that would be great, especially if it's the last time we see them one-on-one in the ring. It's already been, 7 or 8 years since the last time they were in the ring. But I just don't know if the match will deliver. Like, if they're expecting to have like that, those Wrestle Kingdom bangers, I don't know. After everything you see, if you have a 10-match card and that goes on last, I worry that the crowd will be flat for it. That's my only thing. I can get caught up in the aura and the specialness of it for sure. But I feel like that will have to be the main event if the plan is not for Moxley to drop the title. If All In is not going to be Moxley's dropping point, then yeah, book Kenny and Okada in the main event for sure. Because otherwise you're going to be closing your show with yet another disappointing Moxley victory. So if the plan is for Mox to retain, do it earlier in the show. But if Moxley is going to drop the title at All In, that cannot not be in the mid-card. Not after all this time. After Moxley's had that damn belt in the briefcase all this time. And then we get him dropping the title in the 6th match? Fuck that. That's got to be the main event. So it all kind of depends creatively on what they have planned. If Moxley is going to retain, then hell yeah. Kenny and Okada in the main event, even I want that. But if the plan is for Moxley to drop it, it's got to go on last. It's absolutely got to go on last. So, right on. I think that's going to do it for today. Sorry I can't spend too much time in the chat this afternoon, but I got another busy one, at work tonight and all that. So I hope you guys enjoy Double or Nothing. If any of you watch the show tonight and want to do me a big favor and just shoot me some updates. I know, Ryan, I know you're real good at it. Shoot me some updates on Twitter at GoodMicWork. Just let me know if anything crazy is happening, if any title changes, or just general updates on the show. If you want to share that with me, I would really appreciate that. I will be home later tonight. I will check out the show, try to watch some of it, might be tweeting my thoughts. So if you stay up late, tomorrow's a holiday here in the States. So if you stay up late and you want to hear some of my thoughts on Double or Nothing, give me about 8 hours or so, and you'll hear some. You guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy whatever wrestling you choose to watch tonight, and we will be back tomorrow night after Raw to review Raw and to give you my thoughts on Double or Nothing. Thanks again, guys, for hanging out, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.